I never planned to marry a man. I was only trying to save my little sister. So when I volunteered to take her place at the wedding, I thought it would be a temporary sacrifice. But on the wedding day, the groom looked into my eyes and whispered something that changed everything. After 10 years, you're finally mine. That's when I realized this marriage wasn't an accident. It was a plan. A plan that had started years before I ever knew his name. I never planned to marry a man. I was only trying to save my little sister. 3 weeks before her wedding, Lily sat on the edge of my bed with tears streaming down her face. "I can't do it, Alex," she whispered. The fear in her voice instantly put me on edge. What happened? She looked down at her hands. "I don't love him." For a moment, the room fell silent. The wedding had been planned for over a year. Both families had invested time, money, and expectations into it. Everyone in Seattle's business circles knew about the upcoming marriage between Lily Carter and Ben Walker. The perfect couple. The perfect future. The perfect lie. "Have you told Mom and Dad?" I asked. Lily shook her head. "They'd never understand." "Then tell Ben." "I can't." "Why not?" She swallowed hard. "Because he's not a bad person." That answer surprised me. Most people spoke about Ben Walker the same way they spoke about storms or wildfires. Powerful, intimidating, impossible to ignore. At 28, Ben had already transformed Walker Enterprises into one of the fastest-growing companies in Washington state. He was wealthy, successful, confident, and according to every magazine in America, ridiculously handsome. But Lily wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of disappointing him. "I met someone else," she admitted. I closed my eyes. Of course, there it was. The truth. "Does he love you?" A small smile appeared on her face. "Yes." "Do you love him?" "More than anything." That was all I needed to hear. Because no one should marry the wrong person when they already know who the right one is. The next morning I drove downtown. Walker Enterprises occupied an entire glass tower overlooking Elliott Bay. Just stepping into the lobby made me feel underdressed. A receptionist led me upstairs. Minutes later, I found myself standing outside Ben Walker's office. I took a deep breath, then knocked. "Come in." The voice was calm, confident, the kind of voice people listen to. I opened the door, and immediately forgot every speech I had prepared. Ben looked up from his desk. Dark hair, sharp jawline, blue eyes. For a second, he simply stared at me. Not in confusion, not in surprise, almost like recognition. Then he stood, slowly. "Alex Carter." My heart skipped. "You know my name?" A strange expression crossed his face. Something that vanished almost immediately. "I know who you are." That wasn't exactly an answer. I stepped forward. "My sister doesn't want this wedding." The words came out faster than expected. Ben didn't react. He simply folded his hands together. "I know." I blinked. "You know?" "Yes." "You knew she didn't love you?" "Yes." I stared at him, then laughed nervously. "Okay, that's not the response I expected." A small smile touched his lips. For some reason, that smile made me even more nervous. "If you already knew," I continued, "why go through with it?" Ben walked toward the window overlooking Seattle. For several seconds, he remained silent. Then he spoke because sometimes people feel trapped by expectations. The answer felt personal, almost painful. I suddenly wondered if Ben wanted this wedding any more than Lily did. "My sister deserves to be happy," I said quietly. His eyes met mine. "So does everyone else." Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. I looked away first. "Then maybe there's another solution." Ben raised an eyebrow. "What kind of solution?" The idea sounded ridiculous even in my own head. But Lily needed help, and I was running out of options. I took a deep breath, then said the craziest thing I'd ever said in my life. "What if I take her place?" Silence. Complete silence. For 3 long seconds Ben simply stared at me. Then he laughed. A real laugh. Warm. Genuine. Dangerously attractive. I hated how much I liked hearing it. "That's your solution?" he asked. "I'm serious." His amusement slowly disappeared. The look in his eyes changed. Suddenly he wasn't laughing anymore. Suddenly he looked almost emotional. Would you really do that for her? Without hesitation, he studied my face. And the longer he looked, the stranger his expression became. Almost like someone staring at a dream they never expected to come true. Finally, he whispered something, so quietly I barely heard it. After all these years. What? His gaze snapped back into focus. Nothing. But it definitely wasn't nothing. I could feel it. There was a secret behind those words. A secret I couldn't understand. Not yet.
Ben stepped closer.
Close enough that my pulse started behaving strangely. Then he smiled. Not the confident CEO smile everyone knew. Something softer. Something real. If you're truly willing to do this, he said quietly, then maybe we should discuss the details. I had come to save my sister. That was it. That was the only reason I was there. So why did it suddenly feel like my entire life had just changed? 3 days later, Seattle couldn't stop talking about the announcement. The wedding between Lily Carter and Ben Walker had been canceled. In its place came an even bigger surprise. Alex Carter would now be attending every public event as Ben Walker's fiancée. The media exploded. Social media exploded. Their families nearly exploded, and Alex was beginning to think he had completely lost his mind. What exactly have I gotten myself into? He muttered. You volunteered. I didn't expect this part. The public engagement? The moving in together part. Ben took a sip of coffee. You can't pretend to be engaged while living on opposite sides of the city. Alex groaned. Unfortunately, Ben had a point. 1 week later, Alex carried his final suitcase into Ben's waterfront mansion overlooking Puget Sound. The place looked more like a luxury resort than a home. Floor-to-ceiling windows, private gym, movie theater, infinity pool. Everything screamed billionaire. Alex stood in the living room. You seriously live here alone? Ben looked amused. Should I get a roommate? Try a whole football team. For the first time that day, Ben laughed. And once again, Alex hated how much he liked hearing it. Over the following weeks, they settled into a strange routine. Every morning they ate breakfast together. Every evening they attended meetings, charity events, and family dinners. In public, they acted like a couple. In private, they tried to act like friends. The problem was that Ben made friendship surprisingly difficult, especially when he kept looking at Alex like he was the only person in the room. One Friday evening, they attended a charity gala downtown. Alex wore a tailored black suit. The moment he entered the ballroom, heads turned, including Ben's. For several seconds, Ben simply stared. Alex noticed immediately. What?
Ben blinked.
What? You were staring. No, I wasn't. You absolutely were. A faint smile appeared on Ben's face. You clean up nice. Alex felt heat creep into his cheeks. Thank you. Before he could say anything else, a voice interrupted them. Well, now I understand why Seattle won't stop talking about you. A tall blonde man approached confident. Handsome, probably around Alex's age. He extended his hand. Ryan Mitchell. Alex shook it. Alex Carter. Ryan smiled. I've been hoping to meet you. Something about the way he said it immediately made Ben suspicious. Alex noticed Ben's posture stiffen. Ryan didn't. You know, Ryan continued. Ben never talks about anything except work.
Ben sighed.
Ryan. But lately, Ryan continued, ignoring him completely, he suddenly can't stop talking about someone named Alex. Alex froze. Ben nearly choked on his drink. Ryan. What?
I'm helping.
You are not helping. Ryan laughed. Alex couldn't stop smiling. For the rest of the evening, Ryan stayed nearby. And to Alex's surprise, they got along incredibly well. Too well. Every time Ryan made Alex laugh, Ben seemed increasingly irritated. Finally, Ryan leaned closer. If things don't work out with Mr. Billionaire over here, give me a call. Alex laughed. Ben didn't. Not even a little. Before Ryan could continue, Ben stepped between them. Smoothly, naturally. possessively. His hand settled against Alex's lower back. The contact lasted only a second, but Alex felt it. Every nerve in his body noticed it. "So," Ben said calmly. "Ryan,
Ben.
you have another table to visit." Ryan grinned. "Jealous?" Ben's expression never changed. "Irritated?" "Sure." Ryan walked away laughing. Alex turned toward Ben. "You know he's just teasing you, right?" Ben adjusted his tie. "I know." "Then why are you acting weird?" "I'm not." "You are." Ben looked directly into his eyes. For a moment neither spoke. Then Ben quietly said, "I don't like people flirting with you." Alex's heartbeat instantly sped up. The ballroom suddenly felt too warm. "Why?" The question slipped out before he could stop it. Ben stared at him. For a second it looked like he might actually answer. Then someone called his name from across the room. The moment vanished. Later that night they drove home through heavy Seattle rain. Neither spoke much. But Alex couldn't stop thinking about what Ben had said, or the way he'd looked at him. The following week brought even more confusion, because Ben somehow knew everything about him. His favorite coffee order, his favorite pizza place, his favorite baseball team, his favorite childhood movie. At first Alex assumed Lily had told him. Then one evening he discovered she hadn't. They were watching a movie in the home theater when Alex casually mentioned an old amusement park he'd visited as a teenager. Ben immediately smiled. "You won a giant stuffed bear there." Alex sat upright. "What?"
Ben froze.
For the first time since meeting him, Ben actually looked nervous. "How do you know that?" Several seconds passed. Too many seconds. Then Ben forced a smile. "Lucky guess." Alex narrowed his eyes. "No way." Ben stood up. "Movie's over. The movie has an hour left."
I'm tired. Ben.
"Good night, Alex." Alex watched him leave. Something wasn't adding up. And deep down, he was starting to suspect Ben was hiding something much bigger than a business deal. Unfortunately, that wasn't his biggest problem anymore. Because every day he spent around Ben Walker made one thing painfully clear. This arrangement was supposed to be fake. But his feelings weren't. And that terrified him. Especially when he started noticing how disappointed he felt whenever another man got Ben's attention. Or how relieved he felt whenever Ben chose to spend his free time with him. Or how much he looked forward to hearing Ben's voice every morning. One night, while standing alone on the mansion's balcony overlooking the city lights, Alex finally admitted the truth to himself. He was falling for Ben. And if this engagement ended the way it was supposed to, his heart was going to be the thing that got broken. The following week should have been normal. Instead, it became the week everything changed. Alex couldn't stop thinking about Ben. The realization was frustrating and dangerous, because their engagement still wasn't real. At least that's what he kept telling himself. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Ben called him. "I'm running late." Alex looked up from the couch. "Everything okay?" "Board meeting." "You sound exhausted." There was a brief silence. Then Ben laughed softly. "Was that concern I heard?" Alex rolled his eyes. "Don't get used to it." Too late. For some reason, that simple exchange stayed with Alex all day. The problem wasn't that Ben was handsome, or successful, or thoughtful. The problem was that Ben made Alex feel important. Like he mattered. Like he was the first thing Ben thought about in the morning and the last thing he thought about at night. And Alex was starting to wonder if that feeling was real. 3 days later, he got his answer. Or at least part of it. It happened completely by accident. Ben was away meeting investors in San Francisco. Alex stayed home. The mansion felt unusually quiet without him. Bored, Alex decided to organize one of the storage rooms connected to Ben's private office. Halfway through sorting old boxes, he noticed a small wooden chest hidden behind several files. It looked old, personal. Curiosity got the better of him. He opened it, and immediately froze. Inside was a photograph. An old photograph. His photograph. Alex slowly picked it up. His heart began pounding. It was his high school graduation picture. A picture he'd never given Ben. A picture Ben should not have possessed. What the hell? He searched through the box. More photographs. More memories. A baseball ticket. An old newspaper clipping. A school event program. Every single item somehow connected to him. His hands started shaking. The oldest photograph was nearly 10 years old. 10 years. Alex sat down heavily. His mind raced. Why would Ben have these? How long had he been collecting them? And most importantly, why? Hours later, the front door opened. Ben had returned home. The moment he entered his office, he stopped. Alex was waiting. The wooden box sat on the desk between them. The color drained from Ben's face. Neither spoke. The silence stretched painfully. Finally, Alex held up the graduation photograph. Want to explain this? Ben closed his eyes, just for a second, as if he'd always known this day would come. I was hoping you'd never find that. Alex laughed nervously. I think we're past that. Ben remained silent. Talk to me. Nothing.
Ben.
The desperation in Alex's voice finally broke through. Ben looked at him, and for the first time since they'd met, he seemed completely vulnerable. No confidence. No billionaire o mask. Just a man carrying a secret for far too long. I knew you before you knew me. Alex's heart skipped. What?
Ben swallowed.
We went to the same high school. Alex frowned. I don't remember you. I know. The answer hurt more than it should have. Ben looked away. You were a sophomore. I was a senior. Suddenly memories surfaced. Hallways. Football games. Graduation ceremonies. Thousands of faces. But not Ben. Not clearly. I noticed you immediately. Alex stared. Ben gave a sad smile. You were impossible not to notice. The room fell silent. I never spoke to you. Why?
Ben left bitterly.
Because I was 18 years old and completely terrified. Alex didn't know what to say. Ben continued. I told myself it would pass. His voice grew quieter. But it didn't. Alex felt his chest tighten. 10 years.
Ben nodded.
10 years. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Unbelievable. Painfully honest. You kept all this time? I tried not to.
Ben smiled sadly.
I failed. Alex looked back at the contents of the box. A baseball ticket caught his attention. What about this? A genuine smile appeared on Ben's face. You dropped it after a game. Alex blinked. You remember that? I remember everything. The answer hit harder than it should have. For several seconds, neither man moved. Then Alex quietly asked, when I walked into your office that day, Ben looked at him. You already knew who I was. Yes. That's why you looked at me like that.
Ben nodded.
Yes. Alex sat back. Suddenly dozens of moments made sense. The coffee orders. The favorite movie. The amusement park. The little details. Ben hadn't guessed. He'd remembered. For 10 years. Alex didn't know whether to be touched or overwhelmed. Maybe both. Then another thought occurred to him. A dangerous one. Was this engagement your idea? The question changed everything. Ben's expression instantly darkened.
No.
Are you sure? Alex. Because right now it feels like I've been walking through someone else's plan. Pain flashed across Ben's face. I never planned this. Really? Yes. The room grew tense. Years of hidden feelings collided with months of growing emotions. Neither man knew what to do with them. Finally Ben spoke. If I could have chosen how we met again. His voice cracked slightly. It wouldn't have been like this. Alex looked away. Because part of him believed him. And that was what scared him most. Just then another voice interrupted them. Looks like I came at the wrong time. Both men turned. Ryan stood in the doorway holding a folder. His eyes moved between them. Then to the photographs. Then back again. Oh! Understanding immediately crossed his face. Alex stood. I should go. Before either man could stop him, he left the room. Left the mansion. Left everything behind. Outside, Seattle rain poured from the sky. Alex walked aimlessly through the city streets. His thoughts were chaos. Because the problem wasn't that Ben had loved him for 10 years. The problem was that Alex had spent the last few months falling in love with Ben too. And now he had no idea what was real anymore. Back at the mansion, Ryan found Ben sitting alone in the office. The wooden box remained open on the desk. For the first time, Ryan didn't make jokes. "You told him?"
Ben nodded.
Ryan sighed. "How bad?" Ben looked toward the rain-covered window. His voice barely rose above a whisper. "I think I just lost the only person I've ever loved." And for the first time in 10 years, Ben Walker was terrified. For 3 days, Alex ignored every call, every text, every voicemail. Ben called in the morning, at night, between meetings. After meetings, the messages became shorter each day. "Please call me. Can we talk?" "Alex." Nothing dramatic, nothing manipulative, which somehow made them harder to ignore. Alex stayed with Lily and her boyfriend, Mason. By the 4th day, even Lily was losing patience. "You love him," Alex groaned.
No.
"You absolutely do. I don't even know what's real anymore." Lily folded her arms. "Then ask him. It's not that simple." "Why not?" Alex looked out the kitchen window. Because she wasn't there when Ben had looked at him. Because she hadn't seen those photographs. The memories. The years. The impossible devotion. "I don't know if I was falling in love with Ben." Alex paused. "Or with a version of me he'd already created in his head." For once, Lily had no answer. Meanwhile, things were getting worse for Ben. Much worse. A financial scandal had suddenly exploded online. Anonymous accusations claimed Walker Enterprises had manipulated contracts and hidden company losses. The story spread everywhere. News channels, business websites, social media. Within hours, reporters surrounded company headquarters. Investors started panicking. Stock prices began falling.
Ben barely slept.
Barely ate. Barely left the office. Yet none of that scared him as much as losing Alex. Because for the first time in 10 years, Alex had finally been part of his life. And now he was gone. 1 week later, Ryan found Ben asleep at his desk. Or at least trying to sleep. The office lights were still on. Documents covered every surface. Coffee cups sat everywhere. "You look terrible," Ryan said. Ben didn't argue. "Thanks." Ryan dropped a folder onto the desk. "The investigation results." Ben opened it. Several minutes passed. Then he finally exhaled. The accusations were false. Every single one. The company would recover. But Ben didn't look relieved. Ryan noticed immediately. "Still thinking about him?"
Ben left quietly.
"Every second." Ryan sat across from him. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I spent years thinking I'd eventually have a chance with you." Ben looked up. Ryan smiled. "But I never did." The confession surprised him. "You knew. Everybody knew." Ryan laughed. "The difference is I realized something you didn't." Ben raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Ryan's smile softened. "You were already in love with someone else." For the first time all week, Ben smiled. A real smile. Unfortunately, it disappeared seconds later. Because Alex still wasn't there. Meanwhile, Alex couldn't stop thinking either. Everywhere he looked he saw reminders of Ben. Coffee shops, restaurants. Favorite songs. Favorite movies. The city felt different now. Emptier. One evening he finally made the mistake of opening social media. The first headline appeared immediately. Walker Enterprises under investigation. Another article followed. Then another. Then another. Alex's stomach tightened. Without thinking, he opened the comments. Most were brutal. Some were cruel restaurants. Favorite songs. Favorite movies. The city felt different now. Emptier. One evening he finally made the mistake of opening social media. The first headline appeared immediately. Walker Enterprises under investigation. Another article followed. Then another. Then another. Alex's stomach tightened. Without thinking, he opened the comments. Most were brutal. Some were cruel. Others were simply wrong. The more he read, the angrier he became. Because none of those people knew Ben. They didn't know the man who drove across Seattle during a storm because Alex forgot an umbrella. The man who remembered a baseball ticket from 10 years ago. The man who looked at him like he mattered. Suddenly Alex couldn't sit still anymore. The next morning he drove downtown. Walker Enterprises looked like a battlefield. News vans, cameras, reporters, security guards. Somehow he made it inside. Employees rushed through hallways. Everyone looked stressed. Everyone looked exhausted. Finally Alex reached Ben's office. The door stood slightly open. He pushed it and stopped. Ben sat alone at his desk. For a second Alex barely recognized him. The confident billionaire was gone. His tie was loose. His eyes were tired. Dark circles rested beneath them. He looked human and heartbreakingly vulnerable. When Ben looked up, shock crossed his face. Alex! Neither moved. Neither spoke. Then Alex quietly closed the door behind him. Silence filled the room.
Ben stood slowly.
I didn't think you'd come. Alex swallowed. I almost didn't. The honesty hurt.
Ben nodded.
I deserve that. Alex looked around the office. Stacks of documents covered everything. You haven't been sleeping.
Ben shrieked.
I've been busy. You look awful. For some reason that made Ben laugh. A tired laugh. But a real one. I missed that. Alex's heart immediately betrayed him. Because he'd missed Ben too. More than he wanted to admit. The silence returned. This one felt different. Fragile. Important. Finally Ben spoke. I never lied about loving you. Alex looked at him. I know. I never planned this. I know. I never wanted you to feel trapped. Ben's voice cracked slightly. I would rather lose everything else than make you feel trapped. Alex's chest tightened. Because every word sounded true. Painfully true. Ben took a slow breath. Then said the thing he'd been carrying for years. I know loving me wasn't your choice. His eyes never left Alex's. But loving you has been mine every day for 10 years. The room fell silent. Alex felt tears sting his eyes. Because there was no manipulation in Ben's voice. No pressure. No expectations. Just truth. Raw and terrifying. For 10 years. 10 years. And suddenly all the fear disappeared. Because Alex finally understood something. The problem had never been Ben's feelings. The problem was his own. He had been terrified because he felt the same way.
Ben stepped closer.
Carefully. Giving Alex every chance to walk away. I don't expect anything. His voice softened. I just needed you to know. Alex laughed through the tears threatening to escape. You're an idiot.
Ben blinked.
What? You waited 10 years? A nervous smile appeared. Maybe. That's ridiculous. I know. Alex shook his head. Then stepped forward. This time it was his choice. His decision. His heart. And for the first time since they met, there were no contracts standing between them. No fake engagement. No family obligations. Just two men standing in an office, finally telling the truth. Alex looked directly into Ben's eyes. You should have told me sooner. Hope flickered across Ben's face. The smallest spark, but it was enough. Because for the first time since Alex had walked away, neither of them wanted to say goodbye again. The next few weeks changed everything. The investigation cleared Walker Enterprises completely. Every accusation proved false. Investors returned. The stock recovered. The reporters disappeared. And for the first time in months, Ben could finally breathe again. More importantly, so could Alex. There were no more secrets between them. No more misunderstandings. No more pretending. Their engagement might have started as a lie, but somewhere along the way it had become the most honest thing either of them had ever experienced. One evening they sat together on the mansion's balcony overlooking Elliott Bay. The Seattle skyline shimmered in the distance. Ben handed Alex a cup of coffee. Without asking. Exactly the way Alex liked it. Alex smiled. You know, that's still a little creepy.
Ben left.
The coffee. The fact that you remember everything. I don't remember everything. You remember a baseball ticket from 10 years ago. Fair point. Alex shook his head. I still can't believe it. Ben leaned back in his chair. Believe what? That all this started because my sister didn't want to get married. For a moment they both laughed. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Then Ben's expression softened. Best thing that ever happened to me. Alex felt his heart skip. Even now, Ben could do that with a single sentence. The weeks that followed felt different. Lighter. Happier. They attended events together. Traveled together. Spent lazy weekends exploring Seattle. For the first time, Alex wasn't pretending to be Ben's partner. He actually was. And every day that passed made him more certain of one thing. He was in love. Completely hopelessly. And wonderfully in love. Then one morning Ben disappeared.
No explanation.
No details. Just a text. Be ready by 6. Wear something nice. Alex immediately called him no.
Ben answered.
Tell me.
No. Ben.
You'll find out tonight. The call ended. Alex stared at his phone. He's impossible. At 6 o'clock sharp, a black car arrived. Inside sat Ryan. Alex groaned. You? Ryan grinned. Nice to see you too. Where's Ben? Working. Liar. Correct. The drive lasted 30 minutes. Eventually they reached Seattle's waterfront. Alex frowned. Why are we here? Ryan simply pointed ahead and walked away. Alex turned, then froze. His breath caught instantly. The waterfront had been transformed. Hundreds of small lights lined the pathway. White flowers surrounded the pier. Soft music drifted through the evening air. And standing at the very end of the dock was Ben, waiting. Alex's heart immediately began racing. Slowly he walked forward, step by step, until he finally reached him. For a moment neither spoke. The sunset painted the water gold behind them. The city lights sparkled in the distance. And suddenly Alex understood. This wasn't a date. This wasn't a celebration. This was something much bigger.
Ben smiled nervously.
A sight Alex never got tired of seeing. Because confident billionaire Ben Walker was one thing. Nervous Ben Walker was somehow even more adorable. You look terrified, Alex teased. I am terrified. That answer surprised him. You?
Ben laughed softly.
You have no idea. Alex stepped closer. What is all this? For a moment Ben simply looked at him. The way he always did. Like nothing else existed. Then he reached into his jacket. Alex's heart nearly stopped. Ben, his voice barely worked.
Ben swallowed.
For perhaps the first time in his life, the billionaire CEO looked completely vulnerable. I spent 10 years wishing I had the courage to talk to you. Alex felt tears gathering instantly.
Ben.
He continued anyway. I spent 10 years hoping I'd get one chance. His voice cracked. One chance to tell you how much you meant to me. Alex's eyes burned. The entire city seemed to disappear. There was only Ben. Only this moment. Only them. Ben took another step forward. The first chapter of our story started because of an accident. A small smile touched his lips. Or maybe fate. Alex laughed through his tears. Ben smiled too. Then his expression became serious. This time I want us to choose each other freely. His hand opened. A ring rested in his palm. Alex covered his mouth. Emotion crashed into him all at once. The memories, the fear, the laughter, the fake engagement, the late-night conversations, the jealousy, the secrets, the love. Every moment had led here. Ben's eyes never left his. Alex Carter. His voice trembled. And somehow that made it even more perfect. You spent months believing in me. A tear slipped down Alex's cheek. You stayed when things got difficult. Another tear followed. You saw the worst parts of me.
Ben smiled softly.
And somehow you loved me anyway. The world became blurry. Because Alex was crying now. And he didn't care. Ben took a deep breath. Then finally asked the question. Will you marry me? For a second Alex couldn't speak. He simply stared. Because the answer had been obvious for a long time. Long before this moment. Long before the ring. Long before the proposal. Maybe even before he realized it himself. Finally he laughed through his tears. Seriously?
Ben blinked.
What? Oh, you thought I'd say no. Relief exploded across Ben's face. The kind of relief only someone carrying 10 years of fear could feel. Alex shook his head, smiling through tears. Then he gave the only answer that mattered. Yes.
Ben stared.
Almost like he couldn't believe it. Yes. Alex laughed. Yes, Ben. The next second Ben pulled him into his arms. The dock erupted with cheers. Alex jumped, then turned. Hidden behind the flowers stood their families. Lily, Mason, Ryan, friends, co-workers, everyone. Ryan grinned. Took you too long enough. Laughter echoed across the waterfront. Alex buried his face against Ben's shoulder. You planned this. Ben looked completely unapologetic. Maybe. You're impossible. I know. Then Ben gently lifted his chin, looking at him with the same love he'd carried for 10 years. Only now he didn't have to hide it. Neither of them did. Alex smiled, and in that moment he realized something. The best love stories weren't the perfect ones. They were the unexpected ones. The ones that arrived when you weren't looking. The ones that changed everything. The ones worth waiting for. As the sun disappeared behind the Seattle skyline, Alex slipped his hand into Ben's. Their future remained unwritten, but that was okay, because this time they would write every chapter together. And after 10 years of waiting, their real love story was finally beginning. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more emotional gay romance stories.